Ambassador Threlian adjusted his crystalline mandibles as the chamber doors hissed open. The human delegation shuffled in, led by a woman named Eleanor Vance, whose suit looked like it had been cobbled together from 3 different species garbage. Threlian had seen more dignified scavengers on the mineral-rich asteroids near his homeworld. Vance stopped before the council podium, her expression a perfect mask of cheerful ignorance. "Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice unervingly loud. "We're thrilled to be here to discuss our recent misunderstandings." Behind her, her human colleagues fidgeted, one nervously polishing a monocle that didn't seem to belong to any of them. Threlian resisted the urge to crush his own data slate in frustration. These creatures had survived not through intelligence or strength, but through sheer, baffling stubbornness. They'd been warned, pleaded with, even threatened, yet here they were, radiating an aura of misplaced optimism that made Threlian's photoreceptors ache. The council chamber hummed with low-frequency agitation. Ambassador Kfor, a 6-limbed arachnid from a high-gravity world, tapped his claws against the polished obsidian table. "Ambassador Vance," he hissed, "your species has been granted 17 second chances." 17. The silicon-based life forms of the Andromeda Veil have filed formal complaints against your continued expansion into their crystalline territories. Vance beamed, a gesture that seemed to involve exposing her teeth in a non-threatening manner. "Ah yes, the lovely rock people. We just adore their architecture. So structural." Kfor's mandibles twitched. "They claim you've been mining their planetary cores without permission. They also claim you've been teaching their children to juggle." Vance's eyes lit up. "Oh, that was just a cultural exchange. One of our diplomats, Dave, he's a natural teacher." The chamber erupted in a chorus of disapproving clicks, growls, and hums. Threlian watched Vance, noting how her enthusiasm seemed to grow with each accusation. It was as if she thrived on chaos, a walking paradox of incompetence and inexplicable luck. Ambassador Vance leaned forward, her hands pressed flat against the podium. "Look," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that somehow carried across the entire chamber. "We get it. You're worried about us. But humans are simple creatures. We just want to explore, to build, to occasionally set things on fire for no reason." A gasp rippled through the council. Ambassador Threlian's translator nearly short-circuited. "Set things on fire? For no reason," he repeated, disbelief cracking his usually stoic demeanor. Vance shrugged, a gesture that looked suspiciously like a full-body spasm. "Sometimes you just need to watch something burn. It's cathartic." Behind her, one of her human companions, a man with a prosthetic eye and a nervous twitch, muttered, "Dave said the same thing about the nebula." Threlian felt a headache forming behind his photoreceptors. These creatures were not just unreasonable, they were actively, gleefully destructive. And yet, they'd survived everything thrown at them. It was maddening. The council's holographic display flickered to life, projecting a star map of the Andromeda Veil. Ambassador Kfor gestured with a forelimb. "Here, this is the 4th planet in the system. Its core is composed entirely of sentient silicon life forms. Your mining operations have destabilized their entire civilization." Vance squinted at the projection, then turned to her team. "Hey, Bob, wasn't that the planet where we found those weirdly polite rocks?" A man with a beard that seemed to defy gravity nodded. "Yep, they kept asking us to stop drilling, but their accents were so charming we couldn't understand them." Kfor's carapace darkened to a deep, threatening shade of purple. "You admit you ignored their requests?" Vance beamed again. "Only because they kept offering us tea. And you know how humans are about free stuff." The chamber descended into chaos, with several ambassadors rising to shout or gesticulate wildly. Threlian slumped in his seat, wondering if this was how extinction felt: slow, humiliating, and surrounded by idiots. Ambassador Vance raised a hand, and the chamber fell silent. "We're sorry if anyone's feelings were hurt," she said, her voice dripping with insincerity. "But humans have a unique perspective. We believe that if you can't fix a problem, you should probably make it worse and see what happens." A collective groan echoed through the council. Threlian pinched the bridge of his nose, a gesture he'd picked up from human diplomats and now regretted. "That is not a philosophy, Ambassador. That is a death wish." Vance tilted her head, her expression one of genuine confusion. But it works. We've survived asteroid impacts, solar flares, even a rogue black hole once. Mostly by yelling at it. Her human companions nodded in solemn agreement. Threlian felt a vain pulse near his optical sensor. These creatures were either the universe's greatest trolls or the most terrifying survivors in history. He wasn't sure which was worse. The Council's lead arbitrator, a towering entity of liquid metal named Xyler, slammed a fist onto the table. Enough. The human species has proven time and again that it cannot be reasoned with. Your expansion is reckless, your methods are destructive, and your very existence is a statistical anomaly. Vance straightened her suit, which now seemed to have acquired a suspiciously singed patch near the collar. We're not reckless, we're enthusiastic. And anomalies are just things that haven't been explained yet. Xyler's metallic form rippled with frustration. You have been given final warning. Cease all expansion into the Andromeda Veil. Or else. Vance's eyes widened with delight. Ooh, an ultimatum. We love those. Makes everything feel so dramatic. Behind her, her team exchanged grins, as if they'd just been handed a challenge. Threlian buried his face in his hands. They were enjoying this. They were actually enjoying the threat of annihilation. It was madness. Pure, unadulterated madness. The council adjourned in a flurry of angry gestures and low-frequency growls. As the human delegation made their exit, Ambassador Threlian caught up with Vance. Ambassador, he said, his voice strained. Do you understand the consequences of your actions? The Silicon beings are prepared to wage war. Vance stopped, turning to face him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. War? Oh, we love war. It's like a really intense game of chess, but with more explosions. Threlian's photoreceptors flickered in disbelief. You treat the potential extinction of entire species as a game. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad, she admitted, her cheer undimmed. But think about it. Every war we've fought has made us stronger, smarter, better at making bombs. She patted his arm, her touch surprisingly warm. Don't worry. We'll figure something out. Probably involving fire. Threlian watched her walk away, her team trailing behind her like a flock of overly optimistic pigeons. He had a bad feeling this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 3 weeks later, the Council received a transmission from the Andromeda Veil. The Silicon beings had declared war. Ambassador Threlian watched the message, his expression grim. The footage showed crystalline warships emerging from asteroid fields, their hulls gleaming with malevolent intent. They're mobilizing, Kfor hissed, his limbs twitching with agitation. And the humans? Threlian turned to see Eleanor Vance enter the chamber, carrying a dented metal box. We're ready, she announced, setting the box on the table and popping it open to reveal a collection of what appeared to be jury-rigged weapons and a hand-drawn star map. Dave's been working on a creative solution. Kfor leaned closer, his mandibles twitching. What is this? Vance grinned. It's a plan. Mostly. We're going to talk to the rocks. The chamber fell silent. Talk to them, Threlian repeated. Yes, Vance said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the universe. And if that doesn't work, we'll yell really loud. They hate yelling. Threlian wondered if he should start updating his will. The council chamber was in chaos as the human delegation prepared for their negotiation mission. Vance was now wearing a helmet made of what looked like recycled scrap metal, complete with a pair of googly eyes glued to the front. It's for intimidation, she explained when Kfor asked. Rocks are easily startled. Her team was loading a shuttle with an assortment of bizarre equipment, a megaphone, several smoke bombs, and a crate labeled for emergency yelling only. Threlian watched, his disbelief morphing into a sort of horrified fascination. You're not actually going to confront them like this, are you? Vance patted her helmet. Of course. We're diplomats. We just have unconventional methods. She climbed into the shuttle, her team following like lemmings into the unknown. As the hatch sealed, Threlian heard her voice crackle over the comms. Wish us luck. And if we don't come back, tell Dave we're sorry about the nebula. The shuttle lifted off, vanishing into the void. Threlian turned to Kfor, who looked equally stunned. Do you think they'll survive? Kfor's mandibles twitched. Frankly, I wouldn't bet against them. A month passed. The council had received no word from the human delegation. The Silicon beings had launched several attacks on human outposts, each met with baffling resistance. Then, one day, a single shuttle limped back into the council's docking bay. Eleanor Vance emerged, her helmet dented and her suit singed, but her grin was as wide as ever. "We did it," she announced, waving a flag made of what appeared to be melted silicon. The rocks agreed to a truce. The chamber erupted in a mix of relief and disbelief. "How?" Threlian demanded, his voice tight. Vance's eyes sparkled with manic energy. "Well, it turns out they really hate being called rocks. So we yelled a lot, and then Dave started juggling, and they got so distracted they forgot they were mad." She paused, her expression turning thoughtful. "Also, we might have accidentally set their main city on fire. But it was an accident. Mostly." Threlian stared at her, then at the singed flag, then back at her. "You're impossible," he said, a reluctant smile tugging at his lips. Vance beamed. "We know, but you're impossible, and we're not going anywhere." Threlian sighed, the weight of 1,000 frustrations lifting from his shoulders. Maybe, just maybe, the universe needed a little more unreasonable in it.